Hello and welcome to the 50-cent tour of Friday, June 21st, 2013. And welcome to the first day of summer. Please find a seat on the Liberty Bus and we will begin our tour. USDA organic infant formula contains pesticide labeled as a nutrient. Amazing. It just speaks for itself, doesn't it? And in this same regard, pertaining to food safety and food regulation, a friend told me yesterday that in California there's a Homemade Food Act, and that unless you meet certain standards and have been affirmed, it's not legal for you to give your produce to your neighbors or to have people over for dinner, in a very technical, specific sense. And I looked it up, couldn't really find anything that I could really get a handle on, but this article from last fall, October 4th, 2012, was enthusiastic about the California Homemade Food Act being signed into law because it means that you can sell food that you make in your home. But here's the real world information on how it works. I hate to be a downer here, but if the bill is contingent on state-approved training for a fee, no doubt, and people are subject to have their home kitchens inspected if they choose to do this, it's insanity. I'm not shocked California is doing this. The pervasive trend there is that anything can and should be lawful as long as there are people in government appointed to regulate the hell out of it for money. And so that's the real point of view. And, you know, just thinking about all this, recently there were frozen berries that had E. coli in them, and some people became pretty sick. And that's, you know, when the people have jumped through all the hoops and crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, or, you know, maybe greased palms so they didn't have to, who knows. But people still got sick. And, you know, on the other hand, you have well-intentioned people growing tomatoes, wanting to give some to their neighbors. If things are organically grown, might there be E. coli on produce? Yeah, there might. Wash it, okay? And I think they're regulating it and coming against it because it is such a threat to the establishment, to the system. Clearly, what they're doing is not protecting people. The regulations are not preventing people from getting E. coli. So I don't buy that it's out of genuine concern that they want to regulate it. I believe that they want to prevent this kind of thing. Conscious gardening. Find better health in your own organic garden. And that is the reality. If you're afraid of, my goodness, if you're afraid of getting E. coli from food that you grow in your garden, rethink, please. Sure, wash it carefully, depending on what kind of fertilizer you use. But, I wouldn't give up on it. Connecting the dots, vaccines, heavy metals, GMOs, and brain damage. And just an article about this, what people generally know, but it's important to have a reminder. And if you know somebody who's struggling with some of these issues, maybe you can help them out, shed some light on the subject for them. Do-it-yourselfers, go. Homeschooling enrollment skyrocketing as parents seek to protect children from public school brainwashing. And of course, Ron Paul is going to be coming out with his curriculum, his homeschool curriculum this fall. So there's a lot of positive movement on this front. And stress, the modern poison that is making us fat, bald, crazy, and extremely unhealthy. And this article suggests some nutrients that can be helpful in just physically neutralizing stress, but it doesn't mention, some of the practical things that you can do, such as exercise, which is a tremendous stress reliever, music, which is very helpful in combating stress and depression. Also, a brain balancing audio, such as HoloSync, HemiSync, something along those lines, can be very, very helpful. So there are ways to combat stress. And I have this article from the Vedic Project about Eyes Wide Shut and the moon landing. Kubrick's payoff for moon landing production was Eyes Wide Shut, part 1 of 2. I have not read this entire article yet. I definitely plan to, because I kind of have an interest, for whatever reason, in this film, Eyes Wide Shut. It is not for those who are very easily offended, or for people who, are easily frightened, have trouble sleeping at night after they watch a scary movie, whatever. This movie really basically pulls back the curtain on the world of the Illuminati, and it's not pretty. And you may already have been aware of the moon landing. Some people believe the moon landing is a hoax, that it was produced, the film was produced in a studio by Stanley Kubrick. And whether that is true or not, I leave to you. There's definitely some interesting information. And if you're looking for something a little, just kind of entertaining, if you're interested in film, I happen to be kind of a movie addict, movie junkie. So I find this very interesting. I just put it out there for your consideration. And I guess I could have saved this for last, because it's good news. House vote on industrial hemp passes. So if that goes all the way through, I see that as being so beneficial to American agriculture and even probably American industry. I think whole industries can grow up around this production of hemp. Aaron's Law introduced. Now is the time to reform the CFAA. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act is being reformed, or there's a proposal to reform it. And this was the law that Aaron Swartz was being accused under. And there's hope that this might be reformed, so that when there's not a true economic threat to people sharing files, it's people will be allowed to share files. And certainly pertaining to educational institutions, that their files, that all their research, whatever has gone on there, has been paid for in part by taxpayer dollars. So certainly taxpayers should have access to it, and that was one of Aaron's main points. Now I should have put this with the Eyes Wide Shut article, the Freemasonic Statue of Liberty. Now this is kind of going after maybe a bit of a sacred cow. Our flag, what we regard as the American flag, was originated as a corporate flag. And here's another icon that we always think of as being American. representing America. The Statue of Liberty was given to America by French Freemasons. Now, some people say at that time the Freemasons weren't the dark entity that they have now become, that we've come to think of them as being now. However, best case scenario, whether they had really genuinely good intentions, Lady Liberty has been known throughout history as Isis of Egypt, Ishtar of Babylon, Athena of Greece, Astarte of Syria, Sibyl of Rome, Ashtoreth of Israel, and Diana of Ephesus. She is the pagan mother goddess of the Brotherhood, nearly always depicted dressed in a robe, wearing a crown of thorns, and carrying the torch of illumination. So, if you want to be technical about it, if you've read the Old Testament, you know how troubled God was when they worshipped Ashtoreths. If you want to be really technical, we have a monstrously huge statue of Asherah or Ashtoreth out in the harbor there. So, wonder if there's anything that we can do to Christianize that. I don't know. Can the Statue of Liberty be redeemed? Every asset that depends on cheap, abundant credit, which is housing, bonds, and stocks, is doomed. And he writes 4 words: financialization, debtocracy, diminishing returns. And this is why there are issues with all of these type of investments, all these type of assets. So, wow, I don't know. Look out. If you're invested, if you have money in anything, might be a good time to begin to either talk to a really great investment counselor who's going to be straight with you, or I don't know, maybe pray. And this is a downer. This is not our closing good news. Israel accused of organ harvesting in Costa Rica. And, you know, white slavery, sex slavery is one thing. It's horrible. But in some places, they're actually chopping people up for their organs. And I think I've mentioned before on the BBC series Sherlock, there is a really interesting episode where there's a Bill Gates kind of a character who has orphanages, supports orphanages in Africa. And he turns out to be an organ harvester. He takes in orphans and checks their tissue types, and if they have the right tissue type, they are chopped up and sold. So, you know, that was a clue, but this is going on. This is a real thing. And this is our ending story. Not exactly good news, just amusing. Max Keiser responds to the UFO that appeared on his recent show. And I thought about putting the UFO into the video, the tour video, a couple days ago when I saw it. But I'm glad I waited for this because it's, you know, Max Keiser has this tremendous sense of humor. I love the man's sense of humor. And he discusses the alien that buzzed past, and it shows footage too. So I hope you enjoy that as I did. And I hope you enjoy your weekend. The Daily Tour is a presentation of She Who Will Walk in the Dark Productions. And we thank you for joining us for today's tour. And don't look now, but the dawn is coming. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.